Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you. And a very warm welcome to everybody to India. I'm going to introduce the three panelists for this session. It's going to be my favorite session, not just because I'm introducing it, but because it's all about innovation. And India, as you've noticed, I hope you visited the InnoFest. We are an emerging innovation destination. So I would like to welcome on stage Mr. Yashraj Bharadwaj, Mr. Siddharth Bagri, and Professor Satya Chakravarti. I'll introduce them once they're on the stage, please. Okay, so Yashraj Bharadwaj, gentlemen, please. Yashraj Bharadwaj is a 23-year-old first-generation serial entrepreneur, ideator, and an investor. He started his career at the age of 14, believe it or not, at the age of 14, along with his identical twin Yuvraj. Yash owns multiple businesses in technology consulting, e-waste recycling, private equity, and many more. Has 500 employees in 7 countries, including the US, China, Hong Kong, Kenya, UAE, etc. They also have 18 patents to their name and have been awarded Karamveer Chakra, which is a very high honor in India, and have also been the nominees for Padma Shri Award, again, one of the highest honors in India. And he's also a member of the Niti Aayog Industry Council and teaches at UC Berkeley. Professor Satya Chakravarti in the center here he's a zealot about deep technology entrepreneurship to democratize technology and foster sustainable development. He is the founder and CEO of the E-Plane company. I'm sure you've seen the model in the lobby, and if you've not, please do and visit the InnoFest. They've got a bunch of models hanging from the ceiling and a lot of information about it. In 2019, he taught the world's first electric aircraft class alongside the E-Plane company, being incubated at IIT Madras. He also founded and heads the National Center for Combustion Research and Development, one of the world's largest research centers, and is co-founder and innovator on multiple startups, including a rocket startup, a startup which makes crude out of waste oil, a startup which makes startup called Galaxy, which makes satellites, and many, many more. So the perfect combination of a scientist and a businessman. Do please reach out to him after this session to get to know him. Lastly, Mr. Siddharth Bagri on the extreme left is the visionary founder and CEO of Praveg Dynamics. That's the company whose car we are displaying, the black car in the InnoFest. He is on a mission since 2011 to change the socio-economic relationship we have with technology. Praveg Dynamics is born an electric vehicle OEM, and it builds electric vehicles for civilian and armed forces. It also builds batteries and AI solutions. Praveg is bringing back the right to repair, the right to privacy, and most importantly, the right of ownership. Praveg's dream is to bring data under the real control and ownership to make AI truly owned by everyone. And I've already told you about the car. So welcome again to all three panelists. Over to you guys. Thank you.
Hello everybody, good afternoon. I'm Yashraj Bharadwaj this side, and so I just want everybody of you to we'll quickly boost up some energy in this room. I think you guys need some lunch, but before that it's just a final go. The moment I say 3, 2, 1, we all are just gonna say hi, and I think we'll be back into the room again. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you so much. They badly need food, so we'll quickly wrap it up. Okay, so we are talking about innovation. What innovation is. Innovation in India is known as jugaad. It is something that using resources, using your mindset, with a sheer determination, having a great set of questions, coming up with something that solves a problem, that solves a challenge. You got, all of you, I'm 23 years old. Siddharth, of course, is doing fantastic. Prof is running so many companies, and all of you guys are established business people. So I'm really a very young and a small person to speak in front of all of you. But what I'm going to speak about in my journey, that how innovation came and what was the main reason why innovation was certainly important, is because when I started my career at the age of 14, coming from humble background, I realized that the only reason I was innovating was because of hunger. So you have to be hungry in order to do something new, in order to solve a challenge, in order to create wealth, or in order to do something that is relevant of something that you were trying to achieve. So without wasting much of our time, quickly I'm gonna come to our panelists. There are a lot of questions. I want this session to be actually two-way. More than me, I really would request each one of you to come up with some difficult questions, as I've promised Siddharth and Prof that they will be having a hard time to give answers to. So, I mean, starting with our first question, I mean, I'll go ahead with Siddharth, you first. Why don't you just talk more about how you came up with the idea of Praveg, and, you know, everybody has been really interested to see the black vehicle in the Innovation Festival, which is, I think, one of the rock star element that we have. So, the mic to you now.
Right. No, it's great. Thank you for that, Tushar. So fundamentally, when we look at technology, right, technology today is more omnipresent than it has ever been. Technology today is also more inaccessible than it has ever been before. Countries and citizens today are struggling to take ownership of tools and technologies that we use on a daily basis. And I'm not just talking about nuclear power, I'm talking about tools that you and I use on a daily basis, whether they are AI chatbots, whether it's messaging, whether it's video sharing, whether it's any part of your daily digital wallet that you use. Now, all of these tools and technologies are built on the common knowledge and the hard work that we've done as humanity in its entirety. And yet, it is seemingly impossible to take ownership of these tools, even for entire nations. With the dawn of the AI era, we are being marked individually and we are being exploited individually at a pace which is unprecedented in mankind's history ever before. Now, I'm going to take these 3 minutes to talk about the 3 pillars of the revolution of innovation that we are doing in India. Now, the 3 pillars are based on number 1, diversity of thought, number 2, timelessness of our effort and the work that we put in, and the number 3 point, which is probably also very, very important, is the diffusion and distribution of that innovation. So, to start with the first one, now, I'd like you to imagine the diversity of thought, the diversity of ideas. Now, imagine a wedding of a beautiful Indian girl from Muradabad, and this is based on a true story which I heard a couple of days ago, right here. Wedding of a Muradabadi girl to a Saudi young strapping man. And in the wedding, you have the Saudis wearing their bishts with gold and black livery. You have dhotis on the other side. You have kabza and you have rasmalai together. And you have, of course, dancing to all the Bollywood music along with brandishing swords, the talwars of Arabia. Now this confluence and the extreme contrast brings together an amazing confluence which had to be developed in depth in both their cultures, in both their isolated independent cultures, and then at a particular moment in history and time it comes together to create something very, very interesting. And that is quite the diversity and akin to the rivers that flow into seas. You need independent rivers to make a sea. You need independent seas to make an ocean. Without the Red Sea, the Indian Ocean is not the Indian Ocean, it's just the Indian Ocean without the Red Sea. And that is the diversity of thought which I believe is key and fundamental in the innovation of India. India is more diverse than anything else out there. It is the diversity of thought that creates opportunities and ideas to challenge the status quo and propel humanity forward. India is diverse within and without completely. Now coming to the second point, which is the timelessness. If you take a look at the pyramids, you take a look at the Great Wall of China, you take a look at Kailash Temple, Angkor Wat and Neom, you see one common thread for all the greatest humanity projects out there, which is sheer and absolute commitment. And that sheer and absolute commitment is directly proportional to the greatness of the project, to the timelessness of that project. The commitment begets greatness, and that creates the major projects that the world has ever seen. And India is committed. We've been committed for the last 20,000 years in expanding, in seeking knowledge and expanding humanity. And with 1.4 billion people, we really know how to expand humanity very fast. Now, the key to innovation really lies for us, particularly even if we are probably one of the best in AIs and batteries today, tomorrow we might not be, but day after we might be again. When you go to Berlin or when you go to San Francisco, I mean, they're lacking in sanitation and housing. Whereas I can pay with a 5G network 20 rupees at 6,000 meters today. I mean, that is the delta and the chasm of technology that we're talking about from India 10 years ago to Berlin and San Francisco today. That is where we are at. And tomorrow we might be further back in a different paradigm, but you know, that's the point of commitment. We will stay committed to be the best in those fields continuously and throughout. Now, why must we stay committed? That brings me to the third point, which is diffusion of solutions and the work done, diffusion of innovation and the distribution of innovation. That is the third pillar to take back control for any nation state and for humanity. We build things for 1.4 billion minds and souls already. We build things for the masses. It is not just for a few, it is for a many. Without change of the masses, without massive changes propelling better tools for seeking knowledge for humanity at large, the change is meaningless. And therefore, we build not just for us, but we build to take back control for the world.
That's nice. Thank you, Siddharth. I mean, with the wedding, actually, wedding reminds me of some great food that we all enjoy. And with that, I would love to tell you, I mean, Varun told me that I'm also supposed to tell you the menu for the lunch. We have some amazing dessert waiting for you guys. So just hold up 20 more minutes, and I think then all of us can just hog food. I think we badly want that. So, Professor Satya, I would like to ask you, I mean, you have been innovating and teaching innovation for the time that I think that would be my age right now, right? That's your experience. So tell us more about what do you think about the innovation ecosystem in India? I mean, it's important for everybody here to understand the trend of what's really going on.
Yeah, I think we are, particularly in the post-COVID world, we are living in an age where there is a democratization of access to knowledge and information. Previously, it used to be only information, but I think now we can even escalate that to knowledge, which means that people can learn a lot off the internet. They don't need to necessarily go to very big schools. The only reason why people have to go to colleges today, universities, probably the best ones, as they compete with each other, is just for the students to hang out with each other. It's not about the professors, it's not about the labs, it's not about anything else. It's actually about just hanging out with each other. The students actually challenge each other to do the best while they are there. Each of these students is getting involved in lots of different competitions at the global scale, and they excel. And if you look at many of their resumes, it's actually mind-boggling how they pull it off so much in just about 6 to 7 semesters before they get out. And that's exactly why they are there. And that is actually what is spawning innovation. It's the young minds that are actually trying to outcompete each other in a very healthy manner, not in a very cooperative manner. In fact, many of them are actually very intense team projects. So they understand how they can get into a team, play their role, get the job done, showcase what they are doing, compete at an international level, win competitions, awards, and recognition, and move on. That's something that I'm actually really astounded by. It's much more dynamic when compared to what it used to be forever. Definitely from the times that I was a student myself to what it is today. And the current generation has learned how to actually be online more than offline, and they can actually learn a lot more by themselves. I think that's what the secret of innovation in India is all about.
That's interesting to know. I mean, my personal experience being, I teach a subject called Open Innovation at Haas School of Business, UC Berkeley, wherein we have been continuously doing research about how to create a culture of innovation. And this is my next question to both of you. we all coming from different backgrounds of running our own businesses, sometimes it's good to hear about innovation, but we don't really know that how do we create that culture of innovation in our corporations or in our organizations so that we foster new technologies, new ideas. So my question to Siddharth, I mean, of course, you now, is that how you think what would be the best way? This is for everybody, for a manufacturer, for academicians and everybody. And how do you think that culture of innovation can be created?
I think jump in the deep end, ignore the pain, and persist. It's pretty easy.
Prof, what would you like to add in this?
Yeah, as much as we would like to actually foster innovation, I think there must be a purpose to it. It's always cool to show something jazzy, but we always have to ask, okay, what is it really solving for? If we are able to get a mindset by which we are sharply focused on problem solving, look at problems that exist and see how innovatively you can solve those problems, I think the purpose of innovation would be served, and people would then say, hey, I think innovation has a purpose, and therefore it makes sense to actually be innovative in the first place. Or put another way, we can actually challenge the question, why should we be innovative in the first place, right? Why, I mean, what is a big deal? The answer is problem solving. I think if you're able to solve problems around and make a societal impact, innovation will definitely be fostered, and therefore things like, for example, what we have, a Center for Innovation at IIT Madras, the Research Park, the Incubation Cell, all these things are clusters that bring people together focusing on problem solving. I mean, starting from most of the kids that actually get into IITs, they do pen and paper kind of problem solving, but I think more important thing is that Siddharth said, jump into the deep end, which means that work with your hands, but focus on solving a problem, develop prototypes, products, or services, or software, any of the apps, or any of these things, but primarily focus towards problem solving. That's what I would think.
I think even creating problems is fun. Creating problems is also fun.
Of course, I mean, it was in my high school, I used to create tons of problems and stand outside my class for the whole damn day. So I can understand how important it is. But coming on to the next part, this is more like a personal question that I'm putting up. But anyways, guys, as I said, it's a two-way session. If you have any question in your mind, just feel free to raise your hand. I'm going to quickly run up to you, ask you some money, and make you and allow you to ask questions or whatever you want to put. But my question would be that me being a researcher myself, and when I started doing research, Prof, doing research, sitting at a lab, innovating or coding, it's one different thing. But marketing it and selling it is another different thing. It's another ball game altogether that most of the people who innovate, they don't really know. So my question again to you, Siddharth, because this is something that you and me have been chatting past 2 days now, is how do you think we can solve that issue? Is that how come people who are innovating are able to speak about it, sell it, because till the time it's not sold, it has no impact.
You know, the United States of America has been taking a lot of our engineers. We need to get some of the marketers. That's probably the quickest way to get to that.
Marketing.
Really, we don't know how to do it in India, but the Americans know how to do it, for
Yeah,
sure.
of course. I mean, Silicon Valley is Silicon Valley because it was able to sell and market the tech stack that they developed. So, Prof, what would you like to add in this? Marketing is one point, and the next one comes from you.
Well, I mean, I don't think we could, in some sense, trivialize the whole thing as being able to market what you do. I think what's important is, at the core of everything that we do, is what I would call as customer orientation. So when you now try to solve a problem, the first thing that you have to actually ask yourself is, who are you solving this problem for? And who is your customer? And what is the customer segment that you're looking at? And what is the market size that that customer segment represents? And what is the pain point that this customer is having that you're trying to address? Now, you will actually, let's say, for example, you woke up one day and then you thought of a problem and you now could answer all these questions and found who is your customer segment, the market size, all of those things in a jiffy. That's not good enough. You are actually making a hypothesis about who is your customer. right? And what's this customer segment? The answer is you have to actually go ask the customer, and you have to be able to present the problem statement that you're trying to solve to the customer and ask him or her, are you actually really facing this problem? And am I actually imagining that you have this problem? And is it a problem worth solving? These are things that we will have to actually learn from the customer segment that we are trying to address. If we did, we will actually be customer ready right from day one while we are in the lab doing what we are doing. And then it becomes easier for you to market because you know who you're actually solving this problem for. Go back to the same people and then say, hey, I think we had this hypothesis. I actually went and tried to validate it with you as a thought process. Now we have developed this product. Here it is for you. Try it out and see what it is. And there is no better marketing than having the customer square and center right from day one. That's what I would think.
I see, that's really smart. And I'm sorry guys, this is something off the track, but is it happening to you guys also that in the middle of the discussion you are zoning out and Papa CJ from last night is coming to your head? It's happening with me since morning, I don't know why. But anyways, coming to the important discussion again, I'm sorry, I just keep on deflecting. One important thing when we innovate, it's a patent, intellectual property right. I mean, India as a country has been really evolving and has evolved now in terms of intellectual property rights. So how come, I mean, what role intellectual property is playing in terms of, because when you're innovating, you have to have an IP or even if you don't have it, but of course, what is the investor's mindset? What is the market's mindset towards IP? And that too, which is created in India. So Siddharth, maybe you would like to answer that.
I think this is an important one because one thing that our culture we don't realize and understand and do very well, which the Europeans do very well and the Americans do extremely well, is we don't reward incremental innovation. We only look at paradigm shifts. But if I take a look at the iPhone each year, I just feel it's slightly better. It's slightly this thing, you know, iPhone 15 versus 14, hardly any difference. Why should I buy it? But that means there's no change between iPhone 1 and iPhone whatever 15. So that incremental innovation leads to a certain divergence, which IP helps to protect at the very beginning. But on the other hand, it also arrests that innovation to be accessible from others. I think the roots of IP were really in economic warfare. Economic warfare typically driven by the British during the mills of the cotton, automatic cotton milling machines, etc., which is when that was the state secret of UK and they wanted to protect it. So whenever someone else would come in with a particular idea or something, you want to know exactly what is going on in their systems, what is going on in their technology, and therefore you must disclose IP, and I'll give you some market preference over it for the next few years. Yeah, I'll let you protect it. Today, honestly, it's pretty archaic. I mean, I don't see a reason why we should be going for patents or anything. I mean, you're just timing knowledge in an age of knowledge. I mean, on one hand, we have access to all the knowledge in the world. On the other hand, we want to restrict that, which seems pretty counterintuitive as of this stage. However, that does not take us back to the incremental innovation realization. That is important. If you look at all of AI today, which is the hottest topic right now, OpenAI is built on stolen data. I mean, Mid-Journey, everything is, and it's not stolen data, it's open data. But, you know, if Facebook claims a stake on it, well, it was the user, but the user signed an EULA, so ultimately you're signing away all your IP in the first case. So, I mean, where does it end? Where does the ball stop? So, IP is an archaic industry in itself, but of course, the reasoning behind IP stays true.
Interesting. I mean, my question to you, Prof, will be something little different. I mean, we as G20 representing the 20 powerful nations in the world, it's very important for all of us to understand that the innovation efforts that we are leading are supposed to be really inclusive. Inclusive in a way that it involves the marginalized sections, it involves people with lack of resources. So you being an innovation expert and teaching it and running 7 successful companies, what do you think in India has changed in terms of being more inclusive in terms of innovation?
Oh yes, I think that's a fantastic question. I think I alluded to that in the beginning when I was talking about democratization of access to technology. what we find is that there is innovation happening across board in India today. And I think it's attributed to two things so I can immediately think of. One is an India advantage, which is the demographics, a lot of young people, and which essentially means that they don't really come with a colonial baggage, to be honest with you. I don't even know if you understand what I'm talking about with the age that you are, right? So a lot of people at your age level who I deal with on a daily basis in the university don't understand what is meant by a colonial baggage that my generation even had, right? So, and what that basically means, and this could be true for lots of G20 nations beyond, let's say, the G5, G6 or so. And I don't know if India should actually belong to a G5 at all, right? But maybe it will. Right now, I don't think it does. But the thing is, when you say that you're actually going to do something in India, there are people who actually immediately ask the question, can we do this in India? And that is representative of the older generation with the colonial baggage that I'm talking about. And I think that's a mindset that we'll have to change for the older generation. But the younger generation does not have that problem. The younger generation actually doesn't have any baggage. They think that they can actually go and win the world. And that's very, very important. And that's what is making access to technology, because the first thing is the mindset. You should be able to say, I can do this, therefore I'll go find out where is the information that's available, the knowledge that's available, and so on. The second thing, of course, is the availability of that kind of knowledge and information on the internet. And internet is obviously democratizing the whole thing. And these two combinations, the mindset to access knowledge and the availability of knowledge, is what's actually going to transform the world, where a G20 set of countries can now do much better than what was usually the preserve of like a G5 or a G6 or G7, whatever you want to call that, wherever you want to draw the line. Yeah.
Well, so that's interesting, guys. So we can take questions now. Yeah, please, gentlemen. Yeah, you can go ahead. Do you need me to give you a mic? $5.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Sean from Canada. My question is, in this era, probably to Prof, in this era of everyone having open access to technology, how do you create sustainable competitive advantage in innovative development?
When you say sustainable, you mean the green stuff, like you want to do, the ecologically or environmentally sustainable? Is that what you're asking?
No, not exactly.
Okay.
By sustainable, I mean, just always be at par, above par.
Understood.
In the
I just wanted to get that clarified, because the word sustainability has been taken by the environmental people completely. Right? But there are a lot of things that need to be sustained. The economy has to be sustained. Right? True. Yes, I think that's a very important question. How are we going to, is it just a bubble that's actually waiting to burst, or is it something that we can actually do on and on and on? To me, coming from where I am, in this particular part of history in India, I think the crux for me is demography, right? So long as you have a large number of young people, it's easy to sustain this, because young people have a life ahead of themselves and they want to definitely grow as they are growing in age, and they will definitely do what it takes to sustain the economy. So it's very important to hang out with young people. Thanks, guys. Around, right? And have a lot of young people with you. And if you're a country where you don't have many young people, take young people from countries that have young people and then bring them over, right? That's what I would suggest, right? So it's very important to have young people that will sustain, innovation. Is my take on this. Very simple, very straightforward.
Any more questions we have? Yeah, please, go ahead.
Hey, thank you. Hey, so I was just wondering, from your past experience, what percentage of your revenues would you take to reinvest into innovation and experimentation?
That's a fantastic question, actually. I mean, this is something that's very important for everybody to understand. Siddharth, maybe you would like to answer that.
More than 100%.
Yeah, he has done that, actually. He's ran businesses just to fund innovation.
That's the tricky part. I mean, the limit of innovation or invention is the theoretical limits of physics. And We don't know how hot can stuff get. We don't know how cold can stuff get. We don't know the speed of light. So we don't even know what are the theoretical limits of physics. I mean, we know the two-way speed of light. We don't know the one-way speed of light. So I mean, the innovation limits are theoretical limits of any science. So we're pretty far away from any of that. So I think, you know, even as an entire globe, even if we pump in all the money back into sciences, you look at CERN, you look at other experiments that are going on in the world, or the tokamak reactors, or whatever you want to look at. The limits are infinite of putting the revenue back. But to build a business, to be more reasonable, at the growing stage, of course, you need to pump in a lot more. You need external capital to pump it in. I think usually, otherwise, companies flatline or mature at around 5 to 6% typically would be good companies on the innovation index. But yeah, during the growth phase in booming industries and growing industries, you need to pump in more than what you make, for sure. What you make in revenue.
Shall I take?
Please.
Shall I take that question? Can't agree more with Siddharth. There are multiple reasons why we will have to reinvest in innovation and technology and R&D and so on as we are actually, let's say, getting revenues. The very immediate answer is to stay in the game, right? So, for example, I think few years ago, but pre-COVID, I think I was at an aviation conference in the U.S. and the CEO of Boeing was actually in a fireside chat, and he was saying that Boeing is now actually having to be it was a 103-year-old company at the time, and then he said we have to actually behave like a 100-year-old company as well as a 3-year-old company at the same time. And those are the times that we are in today, which means that we always have to keep reinventing ourselves pretty much year on year. Always look for what is the next immediate product and the problem that we are actually solving and keep at it, right? There is just no let up on this because problems have to be solved better and better for the future of humanity. So where do we actually have a cap? The cap is actually on immediate greed, right? So your board members, your investors, your shareholders, those guys actually want instant profits and immediate dividends, right? So is it possible for a CEO to argue to them, guys, stop being greedy. We need this money for actually making the next better plane or the rocket, right? and so on. I don't know where we can stop that line, right? So as you get richer, you're probably going to get more greedier. That's the biggest problem that I think, right? That will stop us from becoming more innovative.
Yeah, Siddharth, last point, and then the time is up. So the last point, Siddharth, you would like to say something?
No,
Okay.
This point should not be the last point. I was just questioning whether this was after McDonnell Douglas and the PE guys took over Boeing or before.
So the time is up, and if you have any more questions, of course, Siddharth and Prof are there. They're joining us for lunch, and you can throw more questions at them and at me if you want, if you think that I'm capable enough to answer. But that's all about us, and keep innovating, stay hungry, stay foolish, and all the best. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you very much. And if you could stay on the stage, we have gifts for you. I'd like to ask Megan Bisset to join us from Canada to give you your thank you gifts. And while we're doing that, there's a question on the app. How can the communique be used to improve policies across the globe? So take a moment to answer the question on the app.